And welcome back to the 12th man. Delighted to be joined by Colin Moog. Um, Obviously a coach in Maiden City, so know him well enough now. But obviously a big football reputation around the city. All the people that have been chatting to you about you coming on have been saying how good a footballer you are. So it's great to have you in, Colin. You're obviously a big Manchester United fan. We're going to be discussing a lot of this podcast around them. So as I said, delighted to have you on, Colin.
Good man, Gary. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it. This is the already. I'm looking forward to the chat about football. And I think we're quite similar. We love our football and we're passionate about it, and we could chat about it for ages. So let's see how it goes.
That's it. Hey, big week ahead for United fans. And as I said, as I was saying, we were chatting before we started recording here. But for me, it's that we've chatted about it. With obviously this podcast, there's a lot of chat about United and Ollie Gunnar Solskjaer. And we're going to be chatting about that as well later on the show. But in terms of big games for Ollie, you talk about games where he's been under serious pressure and he's needed results. Yeah, you can talk about them. You can look at this cup semi-finals where they've been big games. But in terms of the league, this is the baby for United, and I think this is the biggest game of Ollie's tenure, this Burnley game, and obviously we've got a big game coming up after that. But for me, it's the biggest game United have had in the league for a long time. Chance to go top of the league. So would you agree on that, Colin? How big of a game is it?
Okay, there's no getting away from it. It's a big game, but in the same token, if United go and lose the game, I'm not going to get too caught up on that as well, because I think we spoke about it before. There's 17, 18 games going on in the season, so
yeah,
it's not really a title challenge as yet. So we can talk another 10, 15 games time, but it is a big game. There's no doubt. It'd be really nice to go a point or 3 points clear at this stage of the season, because I think every United fan would agree. I don't think we expected to be right up there at this stage of the season. No, we just wanted to be in touch and distance at some point, you know.
Right, and Ferguson spoke about it a lot when he was United about look at the league table in January. And I know it is a bit different this year because there's less games being played. But after this week, Liverpool and United have both played 19 games each and played everybody once. So you can almost compare yourselves to them because you've played everybody. And I know we're about 3 or 4 games behind, but in terms of mentality tests, I think this is crucial for this team because there's been a lot of questions about the semi-finals. And you can almost look at this like a semi-final because it is that big. I think if you can get that psychological advantage going to Anfield, you're in a really strong position going into that game. And even if you already lose it, you come out level on points with them.
But I think Solskjaer's created a good mentality already, within that squad. I think they're what's the word? I think they're robust enough anyway. I think they've reacted to defeats in the past well under Solskjaer. I look back at the Champions League one. That was a hard one to take. There's no doubt about that. I was gutted about that, and as was
a lot of United fans.
Yeah. Was every United fan, but I think since that they've reacted well, and it just shows we're right up there. So
these are joint top of the league or second. Which is it?
We spoke about United second. Let's be honest, United second. I know United fans throughout they're saying right throughout social media are saying we're joint top of the league. We're second in the league. There's no doubt about it. It's as good as a point, that goal difference. So we're second in the league.
Yeah.
But delighted we'll take that at this point this season. It's a big game against Burnley, and I expect, and every United fan expects United to go there and win. Let's be honest. And if you go there and win, as you say, it's a great boost going on the Liverpool game.
You think about Burnley as well, right? And that's not the most. It's not like I'd say you don't go there and think this is a big great saver plan. But Burnley's almost like the new Stoke where they were a few years ago, and you almost think going there, it's going to be a Tuesday night game under the lights. It's January. You look at the weather and the games the weekend there in the FA Cup. The weather's been awful. It's going to be possibly snow, ice, really, really cold night. It is a bit of you have to go there and get up for the game. And Burnley will love the conditions. They're that type of team. So it is a bit of a test in terms of that. It'll not be easy. There's no United fan I've talked to, and it's not because they're playing it down. Very few teams go to Burnley and run riot. It's always tight games. So you know what you're in for when you go there.
No, exactly. And we know what way they're going to play as well. They're going to have them two battering rams up front.
Apparently won free kicks.
Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes, or probably Chris Wood and Jay Rodriguez, who's probably not a pattern man. He's probably a bit more technical than the other two boys. But they always play 4-4-2, and they'll play. Don't get me wrong, I've watched Burnley a couple of times. I think they try to get it down at times, but I think they'll be a bit more direct against United. They'll try and rough United up a bit and be a bit more direct and get the ball on early in that box and cause a bit of mayhem, because United, especially too, that's the other thing, set pieces. United haven't been great defending set pieces. And they're dangerous at set pieces. We obviously have two centre halves as well, Tarkowski boy and Ben Mee, and they have good deliveries. And I think they concentrate on that a lot on their dice. So no, it's going to be hard and it'll be a test. But
and over previous seasons, they have got results at home against sort of big teams. They've done it before. So it is a test, and we'll get into the prediction later on, but I think it will be a really, really tight game. One thing that's been really, really impressive about United this season has been their away form, and you could even factor on that back end of last season too. Before the Leicester game, they'd won 10 league games in a row away from home. They obviously drew that game away at Leicester, possibly could have won it. But even going to Leicester and getting the draw is not the worst result. So their away form's been really, really good, and there's possibly a couple of reasons for that. If you look at United's players, you almost feel like they're suited to playing away from home, don't you? They get a wee bit more space. And I don't know why this is, even with it behind closed doors, it still seems to happen. But Burnley might be a slightly more adventurous at home than they would be if they were going to Old Trafford. Now, there'll not be a massive difference, but they might be a wee bit more adventurous, so it might enable a bit more space. And you give players like Fernandes and Pogba and Rashford and so space, they're going to cause you problems. So do you almost feel more comfortable away from home than you do playing at Old Trafford now?
Aye, because I don't feel more confident when we're away from home, but it's just the way it's panned out. I don't look and say we're away from home. I'm happier that we're away from home than we are at home, because you always want to be playing at home. There's no doubt about that. But we do struggle against teams that sit under that low blockers, and there's no doubt about it. It's hard to watch at times when teams sit in against us. Bruno's changed that to a certain degree, but we're more suited with a wee bit of space when teams come out and try and play against us, and maybe that's the case why we've done so well away from home, because of that pace on the counter.
I think when you're playing against a low block, the most important thing in the game is to try and get that early goal. Because you've seen against, I think the last game I watched was Wolves in the league. Lost them against Villa, but Villa were a bit more adventurous. But the Wolves game where they came and sat really, really deep, and as the game went on, it just looked like United ran out of ideas, and the goal was never going to come. And in the end, took a bit of luck, and that's what you need. They won leagues, or get results when teams do sit back. But in the first half, they had a bit more clear cut chances. There wasn't loads of chances in the game, but they had a bit more openings. But as the game grew on, Wolves probably grew more in confidence. Probably think we've taken United's best shots, and then that, and they just didn't have any quality really. They had to use the counter attack and score. But it's almost the same. If you can get that early goal in the first 10 or 15 minutes against Burnley, you almost feel like you'll go 1-on-1 comfortably. But if it drags on, you'll feel less confident as the game goes on. I don't know why that is.
You would think. I'm just on the Wolves game. It's funny how the perception now of United has changed. Well, my perception anyway over maybe the last year. Before that, or even definitely before Solskjaer, if we were playing against a team who were sitting deep and we had a bit more possession on them, and we were trying to create openings, and we weren't creating openings, then I wouldn't be confident. But even against Wolves, I know we weren't creating a lot, but I remember sitting on here and saying, we'll get another chance, we'll get another one or two chances in the last 10, 15 minutes. I think it's just United have a wee bit more belief about them, and in turn fans have a wee bit more belief. And I did genuinely believe the last 10 minutes, I will get another chance. It's just whether we can take it. And you know what? I didn't have any right to say that, because they weren't creating anything. But it's just
puzzling out. I know what you mean. But do you know why some of that belief might be there as well? He's a world-class player now, Bruno Fernandes, which he might not have had over the last couple of seasons. So you almost feel, and I remember from over the years, and even Spurs have had like Gareth Bale when he was in his prime. Remember even getting the last sort of 5-10 minutes, give Bale a ball from 30 yards and he'll probably score. And you almost feel the same with Bruno. He'll pick a pass, or he'll score a goal, or he might fall over and get a penalty. So it just depends. It just depends on it just depends.
Bruno was really quiet against Wolves. I remember that, but he did create the goal. But it was just
the
I'm
pass.
not even saying it wasn't even Gary. It wasn't even an unbelievable pass. He just obviously he tries these risky passes, and sometimes they don't come off. And maybe it was just last chance saloon, and he tried this ball over the top. And Rashford made a good run, but the ball didn't go. I remember the ball didn't go where he wanted it to go in terms of Rashford's run from right to inside. It went sort of wide again, and Rashford retrieved it and made a chance out of nothing. But you're right about Bruno. He creates something out of nothing, and he's just, as I said to you before, he's infectious around the whole team and the whole squad when he plays, and when he doesn't play, I fear for us. I really do. I fear for us. That's why I'm saying to you, I'm not getting carried away with where we're at the minute, because God forbid if he get injured, we're in a fourth, fifth, sixth fight. Never mind a first or second fight.
I think the thing with Bruno was, although he is a great player, you do look at him as he does have that leadership quality about him. You see him, he does encourage and motivate, and you see him pulling players apart, getting them on the, he does seem he's not the type of person that drifts. And just wait for him to do something. He'll try and make things happen. And you'll see him encouraging the other players and talking to the other players. And you see him talking on the sideline a lot, the coaches as well. So I'm not sure. Obviously, we don't know because we're not there. But I don't know whether that's him. Maybe he's seeing something that the coaches aren't seeing, and maybe he's talking to them, or maybe they're just giving him instructions. It's hard to know. But he does seem to have a really good relationship with United, and the coaching staff and the players all seem to respect him. Funny enough, you mentioned there about he's one injury away. But as I was saying off camera, I think a lot of teams are in a similar situation. You look at Man City with De Bruyne, possibly Foden as well. If Liverpool were to lose Salah or Mane, I'm not sure they can replace him. I know Jala's out injured. You look at Spurs with Kane and Son. Chelsea at the moment aren't really relying on anybody, but there's nobody really stepping up at Chelsea. And then you've got other teams around there like Leicester. If Leicester they lose Vardy, their whole game's based around him. So I think there's a lot of teams on the same boat. They're just praying their best players don't get injured. And the thing about this season is, I know Man City the last couple of games have emerged as the team that everyone's talking about. I don't think there's any outstanding teams, from back to front. Liverpool the last couple of years have obviously earned that right. They've been brilliant over, but some of their players maybe haven't had the levels of our years this year. So I do think a lot of teams are relying on one or two players to get them victories.
Aye, and ours was Bruno. But I spoke to you already before that a couple of performances when Bruno wasn't playing, and I says to you about that West Ham, that 45 minutes against West Ham. He was on the bench. I think he was rested for that game. It was so bad against West Ham, but then he came on and he changed the game. So I don't think other teams level dips as much as United if their main player is missing or is rested. I might be wrong in that. I just think, especially Liverpool and Man City, I think their manager and the way they've been over the last couple of years, their structure in their team and the way they know how to play. I don't think if one player, even De Bruyne, I know you're talking about De Bruyne, I think they'll miss a player of that quality, there's no doubt about it, but it doesn't change the way they play. They still have loads and loads of possession, and they mightn't create as many chances if De Bruyne was missing, but I just don't think Bruno would be a massive must United, and it would be more than what De Bruyne would be, or more than what even Harry Kane would be. I think you mightn't agree with me. You're
not even there. It just shows you how much, because I know how much Spurs value Alexa Kane. Just shows you how much the fans value Bruno, that they think if he wasn't on the team, our whole sort of system would fall apart. And I sort of feel that with Kane as well. He's vital, and I think Son's obviously key to that too, but Kane particularly. But I was actually looking at some of the United games over the season. If you look at the Spurs game, they were awful. You look at the first half against Southampton, they were awful. As you say, the first half against West Ham, the game against West Brom, there's been some poor performances, but it sort of summarises how the league's been this year. If you look at some of Liverpool's games, they've been poor, especially away from home. Man City have had some shockers. They're losing 5-2 at home to Leicester and stuff. So every team's had bad days this season. There's no sort of team you sort of could hang your hat on. I know everyone's saying Man City the last couple of games. There's no team you could hang your hat on and say they're definitely going to win the league, which is strange because usually by January you sort of have your favourites your second favourites, and then you might have sort of maybe going. I don't know about top four because them teams can be inconsistent, but that whole sort of top of the table this year, you just really couldn't identify one team and say they're going to win it because every team's got weaknesses.
I agree, and that's why I'm not getting carried away about United. I'm not. They're only 18 games on, and I think Man City and Liverpool. If you finish above them two, you're one in the league. Or if you finish above,
I agree.
Well, Man City's they're starting to find a wee bit of form. It's looking a wee bit ominous for everybody the way they're clicking on the gear. Even they just who was it there the other day? Was it Birmingham in the FA Cup? Was it?
They were 3 up after 25 minutes or something. Game was over.
It looked. I know. It was like the Man City of old. They just.
You look at the likes of Bernardo Silva. You look at the likes of Bernardo Silva coming on the form. Gundogan coming on the form. De Bruyne's got his best. He's got his best game back. You look at Foden. He's emerged as a real top talent this year. So it's not even just about the results as well. It's the way they're playing. And the way some of their players have come on the form, it does look ominous, as you say. Whereas some other teams might be scripting on results. They're certainly not at the moment. They're sweeping teams aside, and that does
they're playing well, Man City. But I look at that, and this is why I'm sort of happy with where United are at the minute. I looked at that semi-final against Man City. Right, it mightn't have been a great spectacle for everyone, but I thought we competed quite well with them throughout the game.
Colin, if you look on the game, right, the 2 goals were 2 set pieces, so it was very little on it. Like I know City had a lot of possession, but City have possession in every game, even when they're playing Liverpool, more of the ball. So you sort of concede that before the game's even done with a possession, So, and there wasn't a lot of chances, in the game.
But I look back in previous years under different managers, we would have been for 90 minutes. We would have been camped in against Man City.
Yeah.
But we had periods throughout that game where we had possession. Now we might not created a wild lot, but we were comfortable and kind of comfortable at times when they had possession. We defended okay. It's just them couple of moments, and they decide games. Then
I think if you look at the last 2 Manchester derbies, there was 0-0 in the league and then the 2-0 in the cup. Both teams have improved a lot defensively. So I think maybe up to a year ago or even 2 years ago, both teams' best form at defence was attack. You look at Man City, they could concede 2 goals and they would solid score. I think City have realised they probably haven't got the attacking qualities they have anymore. We have Aguero missing, Jesus has been missing, Sterling's not been at his best. So they've had to obviously shore up at the back, and Ruben Dias has come in, and Jamie Noonan spoke a lot about him. He's been excellent. And then if you look at United, if you look at that first game, the first few games of the season when they conceded 2 against Brighton and 6 against Spurs, and United's defence has got a lot stronger throughout the season. So I think both managers have found systems that's working for them, and it might not be the best. And United do play good football times, and so do City, but it's probably not as open as it was in previous seasons. But I think Roy Keane spoke about it. Obviously, my opinion on Roy Keane is very mixed. We make it a wee bit longer, but he did say what I thought. He said it was a great game to watch. That's Roy Keane's your hero, wasn't he? See what he was saying on Sky. He was saying it was a great game in terms of proper defending, it wasn't like, yes, it was a 0-0 at half time, but it was a good game. You could see the quality in the game was there. It wasn't like it was really, really poor. Both defenses were playing really, really well.
True, and I think United have gained City's respect again a wee bit over the past maybe year and a half, 2 years, and that's why the games are maybe a bit more. They cancel each other out a wee bit more. So, and I'm happy with that because we're on our way. Well, I'm hoping we're on our way to get back to where we should be, and that's right.
United are back.
Don't say that. Take that out. No, that's what I'm saying. No, I think when we're competing with Man City and we're having some possession against them, and we can play better than we did in that semi-final against them. Yep. We have a lot more to give, and I suppose they do as well. I'm not saying they were at their best, but I'm happy with where United are at the minute, and a lot of United fans wouldn't agree with that. But
just about to get on that, Colin. Sort of had a chat briefly there about the game coming up, and we'll get back to the Burnley game in a moment. But we're obviously looking at United's season as a whole. But obviously, one massive talking point that never seems to go away around United's the manager. Now, obviously, you've been a coach yourself. You've coached for a few years as well. at different teams. So obviously I've known you at Maiden City. So I think when, and I'm not saying because we're not top level coaches, and that's not what we're saying. But when you are coaching, I think and it's different stages. We're obviously down at kids football, but you do understand the pressure just from parents as well. It's almost the same from the fans of United. You feel like you're always under the microscope. To be honest, there must be serious stress levels at that level of the game. But do you think some of the criticism of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been seriously harsh?
I do. I think he's done a brilliant job at United. Considering where we were now, a lot of people know my views on the previous manager. Don't want to go into too much about him, but
no,
where we're at,
he's a winner. But he's a winner. That's what they say. He's a winner.
He's a winner. He's a winner. I hate the. I don't want to even look back at where I was supporting United when he was in his final months as United manager, and where the team was, because I could barely bring myself to watch them. It was that bad, but no.
Don't worry, Colin. I prepared myself as well for a summer outcome. So,
not here. I'm not. He's obviously his CV is unbelievable. He's an amazing manager and coach. I think he's a narcissist. I think he's
got a certain way. I think I spoke about this in the last show, just in terms of Mourinho here. That's what we're talking, because anyone doesn't know we're on about Mourinho. But I think if you look back at our managers, with like Wenger, they refuse to change. I think when things go wrong, they stick to a certain way of, this is won me trophies. This is where and football does change over time. And I think his man management skills are obviously something that's a big look at. He criticises players a lot, and I think it's all right if you're doing that when you're winning. But I think when you're losing and things aren't going your way, that's when players can turn. And I think that's something these fade they learn from. It's interesting to see if it happens at Spurs. I would be shocked if it didn't. But we'll leave that for an day when we know. But as we were saying about Solskjaer, Colin.
No, Solskjaer's done a good job at United. Gary, he's here. I'm not saying, right, and I want to get this. I'm not saying Solskjaer is. I'm not going to say that he's the. I'm not going to hang my hat on and say he's the answer now long term. He's going to get us back to. No, he might well be. But who knows? But up to this point, I think Solskjaer's done a really good job. There's so many positives, and I could see them. I could see them early days of where he wanted to go. First of all, the whole squad is playing for him. There's no doubt about that. That numerous players, he's got the best. He's improved and developed so many players. We could rhyme him off here. I think he's done well on the transfer market. I think his hands are tied sometimes in the transfer market with the structure at United, but I think he's done quite well in the transfer market, and I think he needs to be given another one or two windows to see if he can get us back. It's probably getting to the point now in the next year that he probably needs to really deliver, I think. Yep. But at the minute, up to now, I don't think anybody can really have any complaints of what he's done for United. I think he's been brilliant for him.
When I look at it, right? I think about United pre-Solskjaer. Think about that game at Anfield, Mourinho's last game, where the players completely turned against him. It was obvious, the performance that day, and the performances leading up to that game. Anyway, you could see, but that day they were there to see Liverpool could have won 6, 7, 8 that day, and then it showed the gulf between the two teams. And you think about where Liverpool were when Mourinho come in, and where Liverpool were going to come out. The progress that Klopp had made, it showed you how far the two teams were apart. And there's no doubt, and obviously Liverpool have been fantastic over the last couple of years, but there's no doubt Solskjaer's definitely closed that gap between Man United and the other top teams. Funny enough, when Spurs were playing United with Mourinho, I used to go into every game confident, probably naive, because Mourinho's got a knack for big games and getting results. But you used to go into that game, you used to think, geez, well, United are awful, we'll beat them. And I think United fans used to go into every game panicking, thinking we are crap, you know what I mean? But they would get the odd result because of the way Mourinho played. And I think it's sort of reversed this way with Spurs now. We watching Mourinho, but with Solskjaer, you definitely see an identity. You definitely see a style of play. You definitely see improvement in players. And as I said, I'm a big fan of him. Obviously, as a young coach as well, I look at the managers around the league, and I think there's a lot of managers compared. And the one thing that's probably counting against Ollie at the moment is he's not won a trophy yet. But as I seen me Poch at Spurs, obviously trophies, well, black and white, they are defined as success, but it doesn't mean there isn't improvements on the pitch. And I seen from where Ollie come in, he inherited a mess. And from where he's are now, and it's only been 2 years. People seem to think it's been longer, but it's only been 2 years. December past, so it's not been that long. And as you say, it's probably coming to the point now we've done at the end of this season. He'll probably be judged, and then they might say, right, well, you have one more year and see how we progress as a club, and that would probably be fair. But I think that the problem with English media is, and the problem with social media in general, is a lot of stuff can be sensationalized. I look at the Solskjaer thing against Leipzig, right? And when they lost that game, everyone's saying, oh, he's out of his depth and whatever. He made a mistake. Every manager makes mistakes. He went there and if Mourinho had been in charge, United would have went the same way and played for a draw. A lot of managers would have went the same way without security. Probably the one thing that counted against him was when it was 2-0, he probably would have to half time to change it. But if you looked at that group when it came out, I think a lot of United fans would have said, this is a really tough group and there's a chance we might finish third. PSG were finalists, Leipzig were semi-finalists. It was a hard group for any team. And there was always a chance they might not, and at the end, what did they finish off by? A point? They put out by a point. And it was very, the game that cost them was the Istanbul game.
It was just the fact they had done so well in the first 3 games, was it? No, the first 2. I think they had 9 points
after 4 games
in the first 4 games. I think, but going back to that, as you say, if he gets a bad result against the world crumbles for United fans if he gets a bad result. But yet, when he gets a brilliant result, it's not the same level.
It's swept under the carpet.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It's not the same level of reaction.
Sensationalists are in a trend, and a lot of people I think on social media they're almost like pretend fans, and they'll say they're United fans, but they're not proper fans like you or me that watch football every week, and they'll just jump on something that sort of might think they're going to get more popular with. Oh, I agree with you. Oh, he's Solskjaer out as well. I'm going to be Solskjaer out. And as you say, we're going to chat about players. You brought up about a player at United as well. There's all issues around that. As soon as he could have 6 straight games. As soon as he's one bad game, him out, he's a waste of money. So as you say, the media have a lot to do with it. And I would have blamed the pippers and journalists before, but I think now it's people. It's social media, that Twitter and Facebook's become so popular, especially with lockdown, because we haven't been out, that it's creating a negative. And the thing that I think TalkSport brought up a great point last year, as I said to you off camera, about Arsenal Fan TV, and I'm a big fan. They watch it. I see there's a lot of good stuff on there, but there is a lot of negativity. And what's annoying me as a football fan is you see United as a football club, all their media attention is surrounded by negativity towards the manager, which is wrong, because everyone should be talking about United where they are in the league. And Bruno Fernandes, same with Bruno, a lot of people talk about him diving and stuff, and I'm having a bit of crack with you about that. But you can talk about that, yes, but nobody ever mentions about people talk about penalties. Nobody ever mentions some of the goals he scored in our games. So it's exactly all negativity around certain things, and that's something in football that for me it needs to change. Talk about the positives as well. Do you know what I mean?
It's just, I don't even know if it's just football. I think it's just the way, it seems to be the way of the world at the moment. Everybody obviously can have an opinion, and you can be negative to a certain point. We spoke about constructive criticism, but people want to get out that negative comment too quickly, and when something positive happens, they don't want to say something positive. They don't want to come out after a game. If, for example, if United's done well, it seems to be silence, but it's almost as if they're waiting throughout that game for United to fail, and then, yes, I can't wait to get on here and have me say on how bad United were, how bad Solskjaer was in terms of his decisions or whatever.
They know what's funny, right, Colin? See, if I'm working, right, and I can't see a game, I usually be raging because I love watching as many Premier League games as I can. But if I'm working, I don't even have to look at the live score or Sky Sports. They see if United won or lost. I'll just click on the Facebook and I'll know right away. I'll just know right away. Do you know what I mean? And that's something seriously that you'll know is wrong. I'm sure they're the same. See, if United won a game, there's probably very few messages on your phone. See, if they lose a game, you probably can't see because your chats are covered from top to bottom.
I know, and exactly. And a few boys if they're watching this, they'll know who they are. There's a few boys who are really quick. They jump on WhatsApp groups when United are awful. But if United have a brilliant result, and they've had loads of brilliant results under Solskjaer, there's very little says about it. Whereas I prefer, and that's just me, I prefer to come out. Don't get me wrong, you can still say, if you can still have opinion if United weren't great in a certain game, but I prefer the other way. If they've been brilliant, they come out and say, even if you want to put up on social media or speak to one of your friends and just say, I prefer to say United were excellent tonight. Why not say that than come out and say how bad were United tonight and Solskjaer this, Solskjaer that. It's just, I suppose it's just the way of the world at the moment.
When it comes to Spurs with Mourinho, right? I was against him getting the job, obviously, because of what happened at his last couple of jobs. And do you know what? I sort of, when I come in, I'm going to get behind the manager, because it's the team at the end of the day, and you have to support. And I've never ever sat and gone, geez, I want them to lose this game because Mourinho will be gone or whatever. But I've accepted it. He might win a cup. He probably will win a cup. He wins everywhere he goes. But overall, it'll probably not work out. I just don't think him and Spurs would work anyway, just over a long period of time. But I look at it, and you can still have an opinion. Like it was a game against Man City where Spurs won 2-0, and I thought tactically the performance was as good as you're going to get from any team, and they sort of followed that up against Arsenal with similar kind of performance. And I have no issues playing that way, and I'll celebrate the team when they won and play that way, because when they play that way against Man City and Arsenal, where you're up against another top team, I don't mind maybe sacrificing a bit of possession. They've a bit more compact, especially with Spurs' defensive the last couple of years. I think it's been very, very poor. So I have no issues. The issues I have was when they go to play our teams, he sort of plays the same way, and that causes issues. But when I comment on it, people sort of think maybe, oh, he's saying one thing one week, and then maybe what I'm actually saying is the team was great that week. And I was actually saying, well, you know what? I just question Mourinho because you know what? He could change it a bit. But it's not to say I want Mourinho out. I'm still fully behind Mourinho. I think he's actually doing quite a good job. Where Spurs are in the league's decent, and they're on a cup final now. And you know what? You have to take your hat off. And I could sit and go, no, you know what? The football's crap. This is crap. Get him out. But I'd only be telling myself something that's not true, because if you look at it on paper, he's doing a good job. So as much as I have to hold my hands up and say I was wrong so far, he's doing better than I thought he would. And I have no issues saying that. But the problem with social media is people have to, because we're saying it, having an opinion, people are trying to fit in by going with an agenda that's popular. So when Solskjaer does get a good result, it's almost breaking their heart, because Jesus, you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Whereas for me, when Mourinho gets a good result, I'm like, happy days, team's won, brilliant, happy days. Keep proving me wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Do you know what I mean? Whereas everyone else is heartbroken because their agenda has gone for that week. Do you know what I mean?
It doesn't fit their agenda exactly. And this is, we spoke about it before, about the big media frenzy around Harry Maguire a couple of months ago. Now it's probably tailed off a wee bit, that media frenzy around him, but I think it all started. He probably did have a shaky start to the season. There's no getting away from that, because remember the stuff in the summer he had.
Iceland and all, was
Greece,
it?
no?
Greece was a great. Greece it was.
It was Greece. So he probably did have a shaky start to the season, but people then, when he has a shaky start to the season, people forget, in my opinion, the impact he had last year. United had one of the best defences in the league last year, and he played almost every single minute of that season last year. United finished third in the league last year, and they had an amazing run towards the end of the season. And I don't know, you'll probably correct me if I'm wrong, I think they had second or third best defence in the whole league in terms of goals conceded. So, and he's played every minute. So then he's had a shaky start to the season. So and then it gathers pace around social media, and players or fans jump on that, and I have friends who just can't stand them, and they don't see good performances throughout that period that he probably struggled. So he would have a good performance, and nobody mentions that. But as soon as he has a bad performance, then people's jumping on it straight away. Now I think he's, over the past 4, 5, 6 weeks, he's played every minute, and he's played through it, and I think he's done well again. And I like Harry Maguire now. I think he's a top defender. Obviously, he's not worth 80 million. Nobody's worth 80 million, but he's a top. I think
be
first.
I think he
He's
would
going to be
benefit,
first
right?
choice for England, Gary, and first choice for Man United, and captain Man United, and I think he captain England if you're not a top player. That's my opinion.
I think one of the things that counts against him, right? We know he's not the quickest. United play quite a high line.
Yeah,
You see him at Leicester, it wasn't exposed as much because they didn't play as high line as United. United dominant possession in most games run. So they're always going to be, you look at the attackers in the Premier League, even the teams that aren't up there, their front three are usually full of speed. They might not have the quality of the likes of Mane and Salah when they get away and score, but they still carry that threat in behind. And I think that is one thing that counts against them. Another thing that counts against them is United sort of haven't really got a steady partner for him. It seems to be Lindelof or Bailly. It switches quite a lot. I know a lot about squad rotation, but I'm not sure Solskjaer's quite convinced on who he should be. And I think Lindelof's probably the better defender, but then you're short and pace. I think for a lot of the big games, Bailly comes on for his pace, but I'm not sure if Solskjaer thinks he's better than Lindelof as a defender. So I think that's one area in the summer United will be looking at. They try and get him, yes, another top centre half beside him, but somebody that's good that can maybe get him out of trouble if there is a ball in behind. Do you know what I mean?
Over the next, Bailly's been injured a lot of his time, and he's fit now, and he's played 4 or 5 games in the last month or so, and he's done well. So over the next now, if he stays fit over the next couple of months, I think you'll find Solskjaer is going to really, he can't keep chopping and changing your two centre halves. So I think he'll make a decision between them two who he's going to stick with Maguire. And I like the two of them. I think they're two good players as well. But I think you're right about Bailly. Although he's a head case at times, and he's prone to the odd. Sometimes I think he's cooked by. But honest to God, some of the things I'd be laughing some of the things he does. But he has so many good attributes. He's aggressive and he's really quick. And
Maguire probably prefers playing with him too because he's got that pace.
Aye, possible, and he's good in the ball, and Lindelof has good attributes too. But I think Bailly is probably a bit more aggressive and he's quicker than Lindelof. But it'll be interesting now over the next few weeks or months to see who Solskjaer goes with, who his preferred partnership is.
I think one of the biggest there, and it's overlooked quite a lot, right? And it's only sort of come up this year because I've been watching games and thinking this, but I think a good number 6, a good centre defensive midfielder is vitally important to any team. Especially the big teams when they've got so much of the ball and they're open to that counter attack. A good number 6 snuffs that danger. A good defensive midfielder snuffs the danger and cuts it out before it even happens. He'll see 3 or 4 seconds what's going to happen. If we lose the ball, what position I'm on, how I'm going to protect the defenders, and it's probably something United haven't got recently. Now McTominay's doing a really good job in there, and you'd like to see him get a bit more time. But one team, like if you look at Liverpool, right, people's been talking about Van Dijk being a big miss. You look at Liverpool's defensive record since he's been injured; it hasn't been that bad. But I think one of the biggest losses, because I think they're a bit easier to get at, their biggest loss is Fabinho playing in defence, taking him out of the midfield. Because I think they're a lot easier to get at. See the goal Spurs scored against them? They dominated us for 45 minutes, and then Son scored in the counter attack. That goal, I don't think happens if Fabinho's on there. Do you know what I mean? And I think
sorry, Gary, I couldn't agree more. It's a super point in terms of that number 6 position. The teams nowadays, especially in the Premier League, have so much quality going forward. See if no matter how good that back 4 is, if they don't have the protection, they're going to get exposed, I think.
Yeah.
So as he says about Fabinho,
he's the best at it. He's brilliant.
He's unbelievable screener. I think Kante's unbelievable still. People forget about him still. People tend to think he's, because he's been about, I think he's only 30. He's still, I was watching.
I think he's had a few injury problems. I think against Man City he had a really, really bad game. But from speaking to a lot of Chelsea fans, they actually say Kante's been one of our best players this year. So
he's came back, and this last while I think at Man City game he wasn't at it, but Man City were really good that game. But no, going back to United, a lot of fans are slagging Solskjaer because he plays the 4-2-3-1. He plays the 2 screeners, and that could be Fred or McTominay, Fred or Matic, McTominay, Matic, or he tried Pogba in there.
Yeah.
I think United are at a point with Solskjaer. They're still progressing under Solskjaer. He doesn't And even the defence, he doesn't quite trust. And the defence, they play that one screener, so he has to go with the two. Even at home, he does that, and that's fine. Especially if your other four are producing, Bruno and Rashford and Martial and Greenwood and that, and Cavani, if they're producing, then them two screeners can be overlooked. But ideally, I think Solskjaer wants to get back to that, or wants to get to a point where he can depend on that one screener.
Yeah.
And then it can maybe go a bit more attacking in front of that. But United haven't got
playing like a three, and we Pogba and Bruno in the middle, and then someone in behind. But as you say, right?
But United haven't got that Fabinho yet, Gary.
You know what it is? Do you know what it is, T-Call? Spurs is playing a summer away with Højbjerg and Sissoko, because again, Mourinho doesn't trust the defence. Now again, that probably the way Mourinho plays anyway, but just you could use it as an example. And I think Chelsea were doing that as well to a certain extent this season with Jorginho and Kante in there as well. So I think a lot of coaches don't trust defenders, and it shows you how hard it is to get one, top centre halves, but two, you look around Europe, there's not a lot of great defensive midfielders you could hang your hat on and say that's the boy we want done. Like if I give you money now to go and find somebody, you could probably have a few in your head that you would think of, but there's not many. You couldn't rhyme off 6 or 7 top players in that position. Do you know what I mean? You look at Fabinho.
Probably couldn't you?
No,
Fabinho and I look back at Fernandinho. Fernandinho was as good as there was about, in my opinion.
But I think that's why City had to maybe alter style a bit, because I think Pep was a bit naive over the last year, even when Fernandinho was injured, and obviously he's getting older. They've went with Rodri in there, and Rodri's very good on the ball, but defensively he's not as good as Fernandinho, so they struggle. I think when Spurs beat City the last 2 times because of that counter attack, and I think with Fernandinho not been there, he played centre half in the first game, and then he didn't play in the second game at all, and they really missed him in midfield. And I think City will be on the lookout for somebody like that now, because I don't think Rodri's the answer. I think he's good on the ball, but in terms of stopping counter attacks, that's a big key. When I look at teams now, I think about possession. Liverpool have sort of changed perception of possession. I think a lot of they can be quite direct as well, out wide and stuff, which is good. If you look at Man City with the tiki-taka and stuff, and Barcelona over the last few years, that's sort of been the way everyone wants to play. I think Liverpool have sort of put a spanner in there, where like when I'm picking my boys at Maiden City, I'd be trying to get the ball out wide a lot and try and get the ball into the box as well as playing possession. So they do mix it up quite well. But as I was saying, I think what I try and look at now is in transition, how good can you be to stop counterattacks? And I think that's how a lot of teams try to, if you can, like Liverpool over the last couple of years, even in games I was watching, they were hardly conceding a chance in the whole game, because even when they lost the ball, Fabinho got it back that quickly for them. And not just Fabinho, the whole team bought into it, but Fabinho was there to start it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Liverpool had that last year, and maybe the year before, they had that thing where City had the previous 3 or 4 years. They were so high in the smaller teams couldn't get out, and it's a lot of it's down to the coaching as well, and how players are set up, and teams can't get out. But that's how Liverpool. That's how their defensive record was so good last year and the year before, and even Man City, because they had all the possession. If you have the ball, the other team can't score. It's really easy. If the other team can't get the ball, they can't score. So and they're pressing teams so high up, team can't get out.
I think Man City over the last year, though, when they did lose the ball, they looked so vulnerable, because they'd lost that Fernandinho, and they'd lost that. I think Gary Neville spoke about it in commentary a lot. City still won the ball back after 5 seconds. Now they can't do it anymore. And over the last couple of games, they might have got that back to a certain extent, but I'm still not sure. I've seen enough of them. They say they're as good as they were a couple of years ago. And I think Liverpool this year, with missing Fabinho, they can look quite vulnerable when they lose the ball. Hence why maybe they aren't getting as many results. So, as you say, for the way football is now, you've obviously got that tiki-taka style. You've got Klopp's sort of style of good control possession, but getting the ball out wide and smaller in teams, that's coming late. But also that defensive transition of winning the ball back quickly. And I think at the moment in the league, you can't really, I think over the last couple of years you've seen about Liverpool, Man City, I don't think there's a team now as good as doing that as they were. So I think that's why as well, a lot of teams have become inconsistent as well. So
I think Solskjaer is trying to get that with United. Sometimes it frustrates me when United play. They don't press as well or with the intensity that, say, likes of Man City or Liverpool would do or would have had.
Yeah.
And if you don't press with that intensity, teams are going to teams are going to play through you and get
You
get into your final third really
look
easily, and you're going to be exposed. But I think Solskjaer's trying to get that. I think that's what he's trying to do. I think he's trying to be a bit more proactive. I think he's trying to squeeze teams in, but I don't know if he has the right players yet. They do that, or I don't know if maybe he might be getting the right response out of them.
One thing you could look at, right, and they're getting a lot of credit in the league, is Leeds, right? Now they've got a system, and Bielsa's been there a couple of years, right? And you look at them players, they couldn't be more trained in the system that they're doing, because they practice it all the time. They've only got one way of playing. You see Monday they can smash a team 4-5-0, but then other days are getting bit 3-0. Now you could look at that and you say about Solskjaer trying to do it, and sometimes if it goes wrong, you can be picked apart. I think the one thing that counts against Leeds is probably quality. When they get chances, they haven't got the players that United and Spurs and Liverpool and Man City do. They put away, if they get 3 chances, they'll put away at least 2. Leeds they must solve 3, or maybe only score 1 every 5. But that's the level they're at, and Leeds fans love it, and they're great to watch. To be fair, you see when it goes wrong, right? And it shows you how hard it is to train the system, because when it goes wrong, the team can be totally picked apart. Like you watched Leeds yesterday against the League 2 team, and they were, I know it wasn't their strongest team, but they were totally picked apart. So if you're playing that system, you have to literally you can't make any mistakes when you're pressing, and everybody has to buy into the system.
And it's a super point, Gary, about the quality in the final third Leeds has compared to them other teams that play that certain way as well. Even I go back to that Leeds United game. United absolutely ripped them apart, and a lot of it was maybe a wee bit in the counter attack. United they just exposed Leeds' press, and they ripped them apart because United had the quality. But do you know what, Ty? And you know yourself, you probably watched the game. Leeds had so many chances in that game as well.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the
quality.
They weren't clinical enough, and they didn't have the quality. They make the game a lot closer.
It is something that's fascinating to talk about, because I love talking about styles, and I love watching teams like Leeds. I love watching Villa, because they've got a certain style of play as well. It's good.
A good side.
Great to watch, and a lot of our game rolls around Jack Grealish. But I think if you look at Villa's midfield three, and this is a player that I think could play for most teams as Grealish, but people's been chatting about McGinn as well. And then the other one is Douglas Luiz. Now I think if you're looking at defensive midfielders that can allow you to play a system, they've got McGinn and Grealish in there. A lot, or Berkeley was on there too, and Douglas Luiz has been like their number 6, and he's very good at winning the ball back. I've watched a bit of him, and it wouldn't surprise me if teams were circling around him in the summer. One, because he's got the Premier League experience. 2, he's got a bit of piss about him. He's Brazilian, he's strong. He's got that sort of Fernandinho about him.
I had this conversation with a good friend. We would chat regularly about United. We just had this conversation about a couple of weeks ago about Douglas Luiz. Yeah. I can't remember who Aston Villa was playing on TV, but it messaged me after the game.
Would have been Palace. They only had 10 men, and they ripped them apart.
I can't remember. Did Aston Villa play a top team quite recently? And somebody
for United, who did they play? Chelsea was the Monday night. Was it the Monday night before the United game? Drew with Chelsea 1-1.
It might have been that, because I think we had interest in it, because of United, obviously. But the friend had messaged me about Douglas Luiz, and I'd already seen him before that, and he's a quality player. Now I don't know, is he on loan from Man City, or are they not? No, I think they have an option to buy back or something for a certain.
He wasn't there last year.
Price.
He wasn't there last year. I know Grealish has had a great season, and McGinn, they've all improved. McGinn was missing for long spells last year, and Grealish has had a new level this year. But Douglas Luiz has made a massive difference that team.
You just mentioned them 3 players: Douglas Luiz, John McGinn, and Jack. That's
one of the strongest midfielders in the league.
Isn't it? That's right. That's right up there. They're quality, and they probably could play for every team in the league.
And the one thing that's killing Villa, I've watched them in a few games, and I'm a big fan of him because he is a young striker. There's a lot of pressure on him after that hat-trick against Villa's Watkins. He misses a lot of chances. Grealish creates. I think we were chatting about this, me and Brandy. Brandy's a big United fan too. We were chatting about players and stuff, and stats can be deceiving sometimes. But if Grealish's assists aren't as high as maybe Bruno's, but Grealish has actually created the most chances in the league. And if you watched him in that United game against Villa, it didn't faze him at all going to Old Trafford. He's playing in probably a weaker team. I know the midfield's good, but take the rest of the team out. You know, attacking players, defensive players, United are a lot stronger. But it did not faze Grealish at all. He had that aura about him. and he was able to go there and he control like some of the chances he was creating for players. You know, he put him on the top team. He's going to rack up the assists. Do you know what I mean?
I'll never forgive him for the Ireland thing anyway. But
I know it's harsh. It's harsh. I know. I've
such a
moved past it.
humbling.
To be honest, Colin, I'm a season ticket holder. I go to the FIFA, or I go to all the games. But he's too good a player not to enjoy. So I've moved past that now. I'm raging about it. I'm raging about
I know
Declan
what you're
Rice.
saying.
I'm raging about Declan Rice. But they're quality players. Do you know what I mean?
The Jack Grealish, I've been raving about him now for a long while. See, I actually believe he could play for any team in this world. That's how good he is. I think there's an argument he might be underrated to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Not underrated. Everybody knows he's
you know what, and you'll know
top player.
You'll know this from playing as well, yourself. But you know when you look at somebody and just nothing phases them, they've got that arrogance. Not bad arrogance, but good arrogance. Ronaldo had it. You know what I mean? And just having that, he could go and play at Old Trafford, 80,000 fans chanting and abusing him, and it would not faze him at all.
The only thing that would concern me, and it's happened throughout football. See, when he's playing at Aston Villa, obviously he's the main man, and everything revolves around him.
Yeah.
So he gets the ball all the time. He's expected to make
every time Villa get the ball, he's trying to him. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Aye. But if he goes to a top team, does he just fit in with all them top players and just sort of blend into the background? And does he stand out as much? Does he not stand out as much? That's my only concern. But with Aston Villa, honestly, God, he is so good. I can't describe how
you know, Colin. I actually think if Watkins can find a bit of form, I actually think Villa have an outside chance of finishing in the top four because they've got Grealish. If he stays fit, and that midfield is a free, and I think Mings is a quality centre half as well. I like Mings a lot. If they can find a bit more goals in the team up front, I think they're an outside chance for the top four.
It's hard to argue that because thing with Ross Barkley's to come back into that midfield as well. He's been injured for a while.
Yes.
So when he was playing, I think, I don't want to go too much on the Villa, but they played a 4-3-3. So they had Douglas Luiz, John McGinn, Ross Barkley, and then they had
Grealish on the left,
Grealish, Watkins, and
El Ghazi.
But they've changed it since
Barkley's went out.
I think they've played a 4-2-3-1. I think McGinn.
I think it's brought the best of Grealish, so I think he's in the centre now, and that's going to be a problem for Barkley possibly. But it's a good argument. Yeah, it's a good headache to have trying to fit them all in.
He's a Jack Grealish and John McGinn behind him getting through that mountain of work as well. They're a joy to watch. I didn't expect them being that good this year.
I'm glad our game against them on Wednesday's postponed. I don't have to worry about it too much. But here we sort of get sidetracked, and it's so easy to get sidetracked with stuff. But get back to the Burnley game it's actually tomorrow night. I mean, we spoke about it, a chance to go top. How confident are you of winning the game?
With United nowadays, I'm always confident, but it's reserved too as well, that confidence, because I know the thin lines, especially with United. They've that confidence has come back to bite me a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I'm prepared for it as well with Solskjaer. I really am, and I know he's done well, but we can have bad performances throughout them good performances as well. But I'm confident if we turn up, if we bring our A game, I think there'll be no bother. But
I know the next game, everyone talks about the next game being more important and all, but which do you think is more important? Which one do they really need to win? Do you think, say they were to beat you at Burnley and get a draw at Anfield, that would be a great week?
Oh, that'd be an unbelievable week if we were to beat Burnley and draw at Liverpool.
Aye.
Oh, jeez. I was going to say every United fan would accept that now. I don't think I would accept it now because that's a gambler on me as well too.
You think it could be 2-1 this weekend?
No, I'm not saying I think it could. I think we're capable of it. I think because
there's no doubt about it. But what I would say is your away form is really, really good. But you're going to a place where Liverpool haven't lost for 3 years in the league at home, I think it is. So that's usually the side. And even if Liverpool turned up there, right, with like 5 players missing, I think you'd still go there and think this is going to be a hard game because the Anfield record, they'll have that behind them. Do you know what I mean?
Look, true, but it's the other thing. This is this day. Who did I say it there the other week? It was against Wolves. It was afterwards. I said about the Liverpool game. Now, first of all, it's different because the fans aren't there. It's the hardest. I've said this for years. I think Anfield's the hardest place in European football to go to, and within the whole Europe, with the fans, the noise they make, and
tight ground.
It seems as if it's a tight ground, and the way the intensity with Klopp's teams. I just think, and then add that the fact that United's coming to town, it's just
it's a hard game.
It's a massive game, but I think it's different. There's no fans there, and they obviously have a lot of injuries at the minute. So I was just saying this the other day. I think, and by the way, they won't change against United. I think they'll still really go at United.
Yeah.
So, and I think it could be, if we defend well, I think there's going to be a lot of spaces to exploit.
I actually think
we'll chat forward players.
Just looking ahead to that game, I actually think it's going to be quite open as well. I think there could be a few goals on it. I think I'm going to leave my prediction later on the week, but I actually think it's going to be very tight as well. And do you know what? Liverpool fans won't admit it, I don't think, but they would probably take a draw as well. They'll not want to lose this game because I think they'll look at it, and I'm not saying they're going to go out and set out for a draw, but I think in the back of their heads they'll go, do you know what? A draw. If the game finishes a draw, they'll probably go, do you know what? It's not the worst result. We're only United but Burnley, we're only 3 points behind. This is supposed to be in 6. And 3 points, you look at this season, 3 points is absolutely nothing. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think Liverpool fans will be kidding themselves. Some of them will be better and go, no. We're better than United, we'll beat them. And they are, there's no doubt about it, been a better side of the last couple of years. But if United go into the game 3 points clear over the 18 games that the season, you look at it and see United have been the better team. So that's what the stats say. So Liverpool have to go into it with a bit of objectivity and look, and the proper Liverpool fans I know will not be thinking about last year. They'll not be judging going, if you look at us over the last 2 years, there's no chance we can lose this game. They'll look at the 18 games this year as they should do. So I think that'll be the big one. If you look at, I was actually in Liverpool last January, right? And Liverpool played United. I was in a bar watching it, and I think United were really, really poor that day. It was just before Bruno signed. Liverpool won 2-0. Salah scored with the last kick of the game, and the players were running around all over the place. The bar was shaking. That was the moment they knew they were going to win the league. I think when they beat Leicester and Boxing Day, most people would have knew it, but they were putting it off. But once they beat Spurs and then United that week, they were like, right, that's it. There's no chance we can blow it now. And I have to say, it was great atmosphere to be there and stuff. But I think Gary Neville, if you watch it, he was raging how United were. And if you go fast forward a year now, United could be going into this game 3 points ahead of them, and it's crazy what can happen in a year. Do you know what I mean? And you have to give United. I know Liverpool have come back a bit, but United have went forward so much. If you look at the form table since Bruno's come in, I think United and Liverpool have got the same amount of points. They're top, similar amount of points. So they've matched Liverpool from sort of calendar year to calendar year, so from January to January. So that's going to be a big plus as well.
It's something here. We spoke about it already. I really enjoy watching United at the minute. I've got my passion back for them, and I think that's down to Solskjaer. I think we try and play fast, exciting football, and compared to what it was anyway. And I can't wait for the game. As you say, the points tally since January 2020 when Bruno signed is around equal, or
it was around level. It was around level around Boxing Day. So I'd imagine now Liverpool United's probably surpassed them. So if you go from January to January, United's probably top. I haven't seen it recently, but I just know it was around level around Boxing Day. And Liverpool have obviously had a few slips since then, and United have won a couple of games. So United.
And saying that, you know, with Scissor, Liverpool's a better team. There's no getting away from that. And I as much as I don't like Liverpool, I've said this to loads of people.
Respect.
Yeah, honestly, God, like especially last year, and some United fans have slagged me for this. Some real hardcore United fans who hate Liverpool. See, Liverpool last year, they had everything I would want in my team. Just thinking from a coach's sort of perspective.
As you're a United fan, you're like me. I'm a Spurs fan, free and free, but we're both football fans, and we like to see what's good in the game. and everything Liverpool had in the last couple of years is what's right in the game. Do you know what I mean? And you can't take that away from them. You cannot take that away from them.
There's no one that is them couple of years where they were unbelievable. There's no one that has worked harder than them.
Yep.
The intensity in their play, the amount of goals they score, their defensive stats. It's just, I think it's all. It's down to Klopp. Like he has the whole city and the club in the palm of his hand. And
I've never seen anything like it. You know what? See a whole city behind a team like Liverpool over the last couple of years. It's madness. I know people forget Everton's still a big club. All right, they're not Liverpool, but they're still a big club. Obviously, they've had a bit of a trophy drought, but they're still a big club in England. And that whole city last year, you would have thought it was one team, and that was on the city, and they were totally behind. They were totally behind Klopp. And Liverpool in general, I think, is just the people have become more friendly and everything. I just think the whole city's got a feel good vibe about it because of Klopp. And you have to credit them. Good news for you. I've got a bit of good news, I've got a bad news for you, Colin. I'll give you the good news is I'm not going to push you for Liverpool prediction because we're a few days away from it, but I'm going to push you for a Burnley prediction. So prediction for tomorrow night.
Geez, I wasn't expecting this one. I'll go. Geez, it could be anything. It could be tight. United could blow them away. United could get it 2-0. That's how much I'm thinking. That's the way I am with United at the moment at times. I'll go.
To be honest, I can't see United not winning the game. I think they'll not miss this opportunity. I just don't see it. And I meant to say to you, I was just researching today. Burnley have got 4 players out with COVID. Don't know if you've seen that. That was announced today there. Burnley have announced four positive cases. Now they said the game's still
recently there.
What's that?
Was that recently there?
Just this morning. Now Burnley have announced the game's still going ahead, but they've got 4. Now obviously because do you know the way if somebody gets COVID, even in your job, you're not allowed to disclose who it is. So Burnley don't have to disclose who it is. So you'll not know until tomorrow night. You'll probably know when you see the lineup who the players are. That you'll know in just from a process elimination who they are. But Burnley've got 4 cases, so that's going to weaken them. Burnley haven't got the biggest squad. So and just I think United, even if it was a full strength Burnley, I don't think United will miss this opportunity. I think it's going to be. I've went 2-0 United, but I think United will get the job done.
Gary, I was thinking about 2-0 myself, but I'll go. We might concede. I'll go 2-1 or 3-1.
2-1, 3-1. So I would say 3 points top, and I'm going to the weekend. And what about Sunday? What? No, I'm not going to ask you for prediction, but what are you looking forward to Sunday in general?
Can't wait. Can't wait for it. Can't wait. That's what I mean at the minute. It's a real good feel factor about United, even with my boys as well, the children. They're loving it with United at the minute.
You've got a wee superstar in your hands, are we? We're ready.
Jesus. He's you're saying a superstar. He's nearly 7. He's not even 7 yet. But
he's got pressure on him.
He's a nice wee left foot on him, but that's probably about the only thing he has.
What I was going to say was that I don't mean this in a bad way, but the disappointing thing for fans is, especially when big games come, because you want to be in the pub and you want to be out with your mates watching the game. Obviously, at the minute, you know what, that can't happen. We're in our 3rd week of lockdown here. We're coaches. We love doing that as well. We can't do that. So strange times, and obviously you'll be sitting in the house watching it. But at the end of the day, as a fan, it doesn't really change how much you're looking forward to the game either, does it?
Exactly. No, Gary, and there's been talk recently of football taking a break and elite football taking a break, and see if it did, I'd be devastated, because it's one of the things that's getting me through this at the minute is looking forward to games, and if that stopped, it would be a killer, honestly, God.
Now, moving on, right, some of the games were stopped in this competition. We've seen it at the weekend. There was the FA Cup. Now, speaking about this, Jamie, in the last show, Colin, you're a bit older than me. I'm not don't mean like you're an old man, but you would the FA Cup.
5 or 6 years older, Andy. What age you go?
I'm 23. What is you?
5 or 6 years old.
5 or 6 years. So, no, obviously you would have seen a bit more FA Cup sort of the glamour games than I would have. And I only speak of my father about the Spurs games in the 80s and stuff. And then just our older fellas that the FA Cup was probably massive back then. Probably not that it's not as big, but it's just probably lost a bit of glamour. So we were chatting about the last day. So just just going to ask you the same question I asked Jamie. Do you think the FA Cup has lost a bit of glamour over the last few years? Now, as I said, there's a few reasons for it. Possibly the money involved in the Premier League, the money involved in the Champions League places. We also spoke, me and Jamie were chatting about this last day, almost like top four seen as a trophy, because it's not necessarily, it's because of the money involved to get you into the Champions League, and all the big players want to play in the Champions League and stuff. So do you think that's contributed to the FA Cup sort of maybe losing a wee bit of its touch?
From my own point of view, probably has. From my point of view, I would only really take proper heed of the FA Cup when it gets on when it gets a few rounds in. If your team's still in there, don't get me wrong. I watched that game against Watford United. Like, United made wholesale changes, and I know they've got the squad, and it was still a really good team they put out. But I watched the game, and it wasn't as if I wasn't on the edge of my seat the way I would be with a league game. So it probably has. It's probably down to the Champions League. And if you were to say to me now, I know people are on about trophies and that, and I know everybody says Solskjaer needs to win a trophy as well. If you were to say to me now, Solskjaer FA Cup, wins the FA Cup and finishes fifth, no chance for me.
You almost think as well. You almost think, right, about, and as you say, people talk about medals and stuff, and there's a big argument for it, and I would love to get 4 or 5 boys on here and have a chat, because they'd all have different opinions. But for me, right, when I look at it, right, it's great they won the FA Cup or a League Cup. I'm a Spurs fan, haven't won anything for 12, 13 years, so we're desperate to win something. But as a club, we've probably progressed, and then 12, 13 years without winning a trophy. So it's sort of a point, it's sort of a team you could look at and go, and I'm not saying Spurs have made massive steps, but Spurs were like a mid-table team 12, 13 years ago. And they've got the team that fights for top 4. They've obviously got the Champions League final without winning a trophy, and they've been able to improve their squad. You look at teams that have won trophies like Wigan, Portsmouth, in this time the Spurs haven't won anything, and they're well down the leagues. So it does create an argument. If United were to finish 5th and won a trophy, Rashford and Bruno would probably want to move, because they probably want to go and play for a Champions League team. And that's the problem that I think the FA Cup's got at the moment.
I'm speaking from a fan's point of view. I'm speaking from a selfish point of view in terms of next year. I want to be sitting on a Tuesday and Wednesday night watching United in the Champions League.
Yeah, not a Thursday.
And I don't care about that FA Cup, or if they've won the FA Cup and I'm sitting here on a Tuesday and Wednesday and we don't have. So I don't really care about that. I'm just raising that we don't have that Champions League football if we won the FA Cup and finished 5th.
There's no reason why you can't have a bit of both. I think if Spurs were to finish in the top 4 this year and lose that cup final against City, it will be a decent season. If they already won that cup and finished in the top 4, it's almost like, I'm not saying it's going to break records, but for Spurs fans, that'll be the best season they've had in a long time, because they've won a trophy and they finished in the top 4. And if you look at that, really, that one game against City shouldn't really define where we finished in the league.
Yeah.
So, and I think as well with the League Cup, something that City have probably caught on to. A lot of teams have caught on to. I know the finals in April this year, but it's usually at the end of February or the first weekend of March. It can be wrapped up pretty early. You can have it play, and the League Cup's a last round as well. The big teams enter at the last 32. So you only have to win 3 games and you're in a semi-final, and then 3 games are all done before Christmas. So before you even get to the business end of the season, I think that's why City have been sort of racking up in the League Cups. It's because they probably have sensed an opportunity in terms of, we can build our trophy cabinet around this, and the other teams don't really take it that serious anyway. Whereas the FA Cup, I think, can be a lot harder to win, because you'll get to a point, if you're in the European competitions or if you're on the top 4 title race, you could have a big game on a Wednesday and have a big game on a Saturday in the Cup, and you have to try to choose which one's more important. Whereas maybe at the start of the season, around the League Cup, you mightn't have that dilemma. So it's just, I think there's a few things working against the FA Cup at the moment.
I see even the League Cup, United in the semi-final against Man City, or like I didn't really care about, as I was saying about the FA Cup. I don't really, it doesn't get the old juices flowing until you get the later stages. And it was the same with the League Cup. I can't even remember who United played in the League Cup leading up to the semi-final against Man City. But as soon as United was in the semi-final against Man City the other night, I was in the edge of my seat as if it was a league game. So it just, when you get you play the bigger teams towards the end and you have a chance of getting to a final no matter what it is, then it becomes really important. But go back to the original question. It's lost its maybe glamour. It probably has. And that's down to money and Champions League.
Do you know what frustrates me, right? Do you know what frustrates me? I can understand the teams in Europe doing it. See, when you see Leeds making 10 changes to go to play Crawley, that's where I sort of get annoyed as a football fan. Now, to be honest, it doesn't really bother me in the end what the result was, but I'm looking at that as a football fan. I'm thinking, Leeds, you're not going to get relegated. They're sitting on decent position. Yeah. They're not going to finish in the top 4, top 6. So why not have a cup run? Why not? I know Bielsa's probably thinking about, and this is where I don't want to criticize because Bielsa's been there and done it. He's probably thinking about the style. His players might need a rest because of the way they play. But just instead of, who was their last game? It was actually, funny enough, it was against Spurs, and they lost 3-0 anyway, their best team. So why not just maybe play some of your players in that game? Save your big players for the FA Cup now and have a good run of it. Because see if Leeds get to the quarterfinals or semi-finals, think about their fan base possibly getting to Wembley, and Leeds fans, rightly or wrongly, but they do have a big following, and that would really inspire their sort of season if they were to get there. And the thing about the beauty about the FA Cup and cup runs, sometimes not even just having a cup run can really boost the fan base. Yeah. Like you think about teams getting the lower teams getting the semi-finals and finals, maybe not winning it, but looking back and going, geez, that was a great cup run we had. Do you know what I mean? And it's the thrill experience as a fan. So it's them sort of teams I look at and think that's where you should be looking to win the FA Cup, because if you are playing a Man City or a United or a Spurs in the quarterfinal and they've got a big European game on the Thursday, they're probably going to edge towards that because it's probably a bit more prestige about it now, and the players sort of look at that around Europe as a bit more prestige.
See the flip side. That Leeds team that they Bielsa put out against Crawley.
Yeah.
I can guarantee, Gary, he thought that was more than good enough to beat Crawley. And let's be honest, it is more than good enough to beat Crawley.
I thought Crawley were absolutely fantastic. I watched the game. It really surprised me. They didn't look like a League Two game. I think they only conceded 1 or 2 shots in the whole game. I know Leeds had a lot of possession, but defensively they were brilliant, and their counter-attacking was excellent. And we talked about a lack of quality. Their quality in the final third was really, really good. I think the keeper was at fault for a couple of the goals, mind you, but they still, their counter-attacking was really, really productive. And it was almost a perfect performance.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I'm just saying, like, Bielsa didn't.
I underestimated Crawley.
He didn't put out that team thinking I'm just going to fulfill this fixture, and I don't really. He put out that team thinking that was more than good enough. He's rested. This is a chance here to rest some top players, but it's also a chance to give players minutes, and that's a more than strong enough team to go and beat Crawley Town. So the players probably let him down. Just it's as simple as that. I don't think it was a fact. I know what you're saying. You want these teams who are not going to get relegated, who are not going to finish in the top 4, to really go for it. But I believe that Bielsa thought he's going to progress, and it's a chance also to rest players. And if he does get through them couple of rounds, then he'll probably, if it's a stronger team, he'll go really strong. You know what I mean?
It's a great point. No, that's a great point. They probably not they underestimated Crawley. Crawley probably couldn't play like that every week. Probably won end games where everything went right for him. First 2 goals, I think the goalkeeper was made really bad. He should have saved them. He's a former Real Madrid goalkeeper, and he's a Champions League winner, so you would expect him to be saving them ones. Now, as you said about it's lost its glamour. Now, you talk about the magic of the cup. Now, I thought the magic was alive yesterday. Obviously, watching the Spurs game, it was quite surreal, the experience for Marine. Now, I don't know, did you watch it now?
I watched a lot of it. I watched bits and pieces.
Seen around the ground, the houses, and obviously they've had a lot of flack about social distancing and stuff with the buses coming in, and probably shouldn't have been that many people in the streets, but they were actually gathered in their own gardens and they watched the game, and they were sitting with their glasses of wine, and I thought that was brilliant. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it was funny enough, right, that it probably worked in Marine's favour, the lockdown, because they could only fit 500 fans into the game if they were to go ahead. But what they decided to do was they run a virtual ticket scheme, and they sold over 30,000 tickets at £20 a head, plus the TV money from the game. So they made near enough £1 million off the game. And you think about that kind of money for a team like Marine, eighth tier English football, the lowest ever ranked team to play in the third league or the third round of the FA Cup. So that is what was good about the FA Cup. I suppose that's celebrate what's good in the game, and that was something that you could look at and go, well, you wouldn't get that in any other competition. But it was brilliant, like for the whole experience of it.
I enjoyed the game. I forgot all about it. We were out yesterday and we came back in and I says I says, geez, that's right, Marines playing Spurs today. And I probably turned on the game too, hoping for them to make it a wee bit more interesting.
I think that one where he hits the bar, if that goes in, it's a completely different game because then obviously Spurs won the game comfortably enough and they'd have went on, they won it anyway, but if they had it on 1-0 down, imagine the atmosphere around that ground, because before the game the atmosphere was brilliant and there's horns getting blew and everything. It was just crazy. If that goal goes in, there's cars getting beeped and there's horns getting blew. Everybody's going mental. And then it gives you that, and I don't care what anyone says, of course they were up for the game, but they would have found another 10% somewhere if they had them holding on to a 1-0 lead. And you never know, a bit of luck. And then Spurs get the last 20 minutes. You just never know in football. There's no guarantees, and it would have made it a lot more interesting. And now, in fairness, as a Spurs fan, I can't have that. Part of me as a football fan would have loved to see Marine have a wee bit of a chance, but as they're playing my team, I couldn't have it. But if I hadn't played any other team, I'd have been sitting with the Marine gear on because everyone would have wanted them. They'd seen me follow the other night with their youth team. I think when that goal went in, I swear to God, and this is crazy, I'd never done this before, ever. Even when Spurs have been sort of playing teams in the round of for top four, and that year they won the league with Leicester, I was celebrating that wee Louis Barry's goal for Villa against Liverpool because I felt like as a player that's played when I was younger and as a coach, I was thinking, obviously Kevin Cariana, he takes a similar age group of team. If that had been his voice scoring against Liverpool, imagine that, you know what I mean, what it would have felt like. So I was buzzing for Villa when they got that goal, and obviously your heart was broken when Liverpool started scoring goals, and you were just sort of hoping then it would finish 4-1. And in the end, they battled and got the result. But one thing I would say about Marine is they didn't. There's been bigger beatings than 5-0. You know, they stuck to the task, and I think Spurs, to a certain degree, did take their foot off the gas in the second half. But no, they done themselves proud.
They came out with a wee bit of credit, and so did Aston Villa. That's underage Aston Villa team as well. Hey, everybody loves an underdog, don't they? I didn't watch much of that Aston Villa game, but I was putting the middle boy up to bed there the other week, and I checked my phone when I was and I seen it was 1 each, and I went, oh jeepers, hold on a minute here, there could be an upset here.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what I'd done before I got back down to the TV. But when I got down to the TV, it was 3-1 to Liverpool. I think I got 2 quick ones in.
Because they scored 3 in 5 minutes, but it got these 60 minutes when they got that set. So there was half an hour to go, all 1-1. And you were thinking if they had held on for another 10 minutes and they got the last 20, but as soon as that goal went on, they completely just they looked knackered there. See, in the first half, even some of their players were blowing, and they're fit lads, but it's just the pace of the game at that level. They're not used to it. And that was probably what happened in Marine yesterday. There was a couple of times where Lucas Moura, and I'm not a big fan of him, to be honest. I think he can be hit and miss, but yesterday he just looked invincible. Some of the turns and the quickness, speed, agility, them boys couldn't handle it.
Pace.
And that's the difference at that level. Do you know what I mean?
They just do things. They just do things a lot sharper, and
Dele Alli,
as you say, especially
with
Lucas Moura's pace, like as you say, probably looks like a world class superstar against that Marine team.
That's it. But FA, what was I saying? What was I adding it? I was saying, obviously, one thing that Jamie brought up, and we obviously hadn't seen it before, was the good thing about the FA Cup this year. He made a prediction. He thought that no replays would have been a big advantage. It would add to the drama, made the games a bit more competitive. And I have to say, he was spot on his prediction, because I don't know if you watched last night, Newport and Brighton. It wasn't a particularly great game, but I got the penalties and the drama of it. I think I finished 4-3 after 7 penalties each. But it's just the fact of the replays is good in terms of the stronger teams have less games to worry about. But I just think when it goes to the extra time and penalties, it creates a bit more drama, and teams can't rely on a replay. You know, if you're going away from home, you have to try and win on the day, and it did make a few games a bit more enjoyable. So I don't know where that's something to agree on.
Well, of course, teams have to go for it. To be honest with you, Gary, I didn't really follow much of the FA Cup this weekend. Don't get me wrong, I've seen all the results, but if there's no replays, teams are going to have a proper rattle.
Yeah.
And it probably benefits the bigger teams, because obviously the fixture congestion with them, that they don't want any replays, and they've probably bigger fixtures to fulfil, obviously the European and the way COVID is now as well. So no, I didn't follow much of the FA Cup this weekend. I've seen all the results, but
I think there's a lot that can be done. I think what happens sometimes it can be too afraid to change traditions and stuff. And as I was saying, the League Cup, I thought the one leg of the League Cup was far better instead of the 2 leg semi-final. I just think it makes it more competitive. And I think this is something the FA Cup could possibly look at. Even maybe starting the competition slightly earlier, having that maybe that first round, or having that, no, it was we've been called the first round, but the third round when all the big teams come in, maybe even have it earlier in the season and let teams, because I think it's just sometimes it can be like the fourth round now is in 2 weeks' time. So you've got hardly any time between the third and fourth round. So I think as well they could possibly bring it in a bit earlier. I think there are no replays. I know it's tradition they have replays, but I think having no replays makes it a lot more competitive.
It makes it more entertaining. I'm just thinking about the smaller teams, if they're playing at home against a top Premier League team, then I'm sure they would rather have replays in the equation.
They will look at it financially, because if they can hold the team, they can get an away. So it's 2 games for TV.
Exactly.
If they can go to old, say Marine were playing, not saying it's going to happen. If they already hold them, they're 0-0. They could, I know FA Cup 2 and Cup games, you get extra allocations, so they could take possibly, I think it's 10%, so they'll be able to take 7,500, 8,000 fans to Old Trafford. So that's financially that side of it can work. But I think the Marines' idea of the virtual ticket scheme was brilliant. I think I'm going to give Spurs fans contributed the 15,000 tickets, so I think that was brilliant. But there are 15,000 tickets were made up from our fans and TV pundits and stuff. So I think it's something that can be looked at from our, even if you're going to have a game, like if Marine get into the cup competition again on a third round and they play a team where they can only have 500 fans, and why not just run the virtual ticket scheme anyway, on the side of it? Because everybody, as you say, loves the underdog, and everybody wanted to support that team financially. So I thought it was brilliant.
Super fun.
So I just I don't know if you've seen it today, but Spurs were down to play Villa on Wednesday. Now, I'm not sure if the FA was watching my previous podcast where I had suggested if Villa couldn't play Spurs, why not try and get Fulham to play them, because Spurs have that game in hand. And lo and behold, Spurs are playing Fulham on Wednesday, so all the Spurs fans should be thanking me for that. No, I'm joking. But no, it was great to see. We've spoke about common sense, right? It's great to see the FA having a bit of common sense and getting that game organised. Do you know what I mean? Right. So
you're a senior, about dark area.
It's just getting that stage of the day, isn't it? There we go.
That's messed up my fantasy football team as well, because I have the Aston Villa goalkeeper in the centre half, Martinez and Konsa. So
that's nice up. Well, I think it helps Spurs massively, because I'm looking at it now. I'm thinking Fulham at home and Sheffield United away. Chance to get 6 points. Liverpool United playing each other the weekend. This could be a chance to sort of maybe gain a bit of ground in these two, because at least one of them's going to drop points on Sunday. So it's really important that we 1 or 2 games. Just getting on it, predictions for the games coming up this week. Start off with an absolute cracker on Tuesday. Sheffield United against Newcastle. I am buzzing for that game. I'm sure you are too. I think it's going to be like a 5-5. Loads of excitement. Jeez, do we have to watch this one? Can we not just fast forward? I've actually gone for a 0-0 draw. I think it's going to be awful. I'll probably not bother. I'm working away, so I'll not see it. But
Sheffield United, they're struggling badly, aren't they?
They finally got their first win of the season on Saturday in the FA Cup.
3-2, wasn't it, or something?
They struggled against Bristol Rovers, so that shows you the.
I think Newcastle could. I think Newcastle could sneak this because they have a wee bit more firepower than them. Callum Wilson and
Andy Carroll's having a renaissance as well, isn't he?
Andy Carroll done quite well the other day. I was watching him. He was playing against
Arsenal. What did you think of that game? What did you? I thought Newcastle defended quite well. Arsenal looked quite limited at times. Obviously, they got. I think the wee lad Smith Rowe's come in. He's made a big difference to them. I think there's a big question about Aubameyang, if he should still be in the team. He's had a per few games, but Arsenal got the job done in the end. But Newcastle.
I was watching bits and pieces. You always felt I know
Arsenal were
Newcastle were doing well. You
uh,
you always felt Arsenal were going
I think
to
somebody made a great analogy, right? Newcastle's like a boxer that's got a great chin but no punch, and that's sort of what you feel with them. They're very good at sitting back and but if they're even if they go 1-0 down, you think there's no chance unless they get a bit of luck. They don't really seem to. Bruce seems to be very good at making them hard a bit, but they don't really have much going for them going forward. And they've got some decent players here, but it's just the style of play limits them so much.
I think his hands are tied as well in the transfer market, but I think Steve Bruce is a decent coach. I think if he gets another year or two, and if he adds 1 or 2 more, because that Callum Wilson boy's a good player. He's been a good signing for them, but he needs a bit more help, doesn't he? The wee boy Almiron hasn't turned out to
hot and cold. So you fancy Newcastle? They nick it.
I'll go 1-0, 2-1 Newcastle.
We've done Burnley United. Wolves Everton's also on at the same time as Burnley United, so you'll not be watching it. But that's going to be, I think that'll be a tight game too.
I heard Dominic Calvert-Lewin's injured or something too. I read that somewhere.
Wolves haven't scored all the goals. Jimenez injured and stuff, and they've obviously lost Jota.
1 each.
Oh, that's what I've gone for, 1-1. Right, so moving on. Wednesday, 6 o'clock, Man City against Brighton. They might need a bigger scoreboard for this, the way Man City's playing at the moment.
And Brighton like they think they can play a bit and come out and play a bit too. So
I don't see any way Man City don't win this game. I've gone for 3-0, but I'm being generous to Brighton.
It could be horrible. I'll go 5-1.
5-1. Wednesday, Spurs. Also, it's straight after the Man City game. It was on Amazon Prime actually because Spurs Fulham. I think it'll be a typical Spurs. They'll probably not. You'd expect them to go out and smash Fulham, but it won't be like that. They don't really do it.
I know what you're saying.
Going for a 2-0 win. I think they'll win the game, but they'll probably make hard work of it.
I think Fulham might nick one. I'll go 2-1 Spurs.
It'll be tight. And then to finish off Thursday, it's a strange week this week because they've actually split this game week. I think they're actually calling it game week 18, but it's split between this week and next week. So you've got 5. I know you've got there's actually 6 games this week, 6 games next week because Burnley and it's a game in hand, and then City play twice as well. They play next week the same as usual. You're playing Fulham next week. But Arsenal play Palace Thursday night. This will probably be entertaining because Palace will probably have a go. Their strengths can be counter-attacking, and I think I'm a big fan of Eze. Eze's coming on, been a real superstar for Palace this season. And we know what Zaha can do. And they have a decent record against Arsenal away from home. They've had a few results there over the last few years. So, but having said that, I think Arsenal's playing really well. They found a bit of a rhythm, and they're on a bit of a 1-1. I think they'll have bigger questions they come. But I've gone for 3-1. But I think this could be entertaining. Could be a good watch.
Palace they'll try and sit on and use them boys you just mentioned, Eze, and he looks quality too, doesn't he? He's in the mold of Zaha. I'm not sure he's quite that level yet, but he looks quality. I think he's only 21, so I don't think he'll keep out Arsenal. Maybe I'll go with you, Gary. 3-1.
3-1.
Arsenal.
All right, well, Colin, that's probably about it. We've had a fair discussion there about loads of stuff. Some really good stuff there as well. With a whole social media platform, which is sort of something we didn't really plan to talk about, but it just sort of come into the conversation, which was good. Great. I have to say, every guest I've had on has all had really good information and really good knowledge. Now, I know you're a fan of the show. We've got a big show coming on Friday. We've got first time happening on the show. We've got a Liverpool and a Man United fan, so 2 fans from different teams going to come on. They preview the big game on Sunday. The whole show in general will probably be about that game because it is, and you know what, it is good as well because there's no getting away from it. Liverpool and United are the 2 biggest teams, so it is good that they're up there again and competing, and it does create that more bitterness between the fans as well. And you know what, I've noticed this week there's not as many Liverpool fans laughing about Ollie. So they're all in their box at the minute. They're waiting for it though. They're waiting for it.
Let's see. Hey, it could be the making of my next week or the downfall of my next week. But I'm looking forward. I can't wait. And that should be a good one between them two.
You know what?
Be a bit of banter.
Do you know these games getting rearranged as well? I looked at it today. Fulham and Chelsea been moved to Saturday to the 5:30 game, and down at 5:30 is Villa Everton. So that's been moved to 12 o'clock on Sunday. So you've got Villa Everton Sunday 12 o'clock. Spurs is playing at 2:15. Villa's the big game at 4:30, the two teams, and then Man City's playing Palace after. So you've got four really good sort of teams. There's four good games to watch on Sunday as well, which is the one thing we were chatting about before the show. The one thing that we'll miss about lockdown and the fans coming back is not having all these games on staggered after each other. We'll back
staggered games are great. I know. That's a day for I'll just lock a 3 wins in their bedroom and I'll sit down here and watch the 4 games with a couple of beer. Some chance.
Hey, Colin, once again, thanks for coming on. I'll definitely have you on again, and hopefully we've got a few ideas coming up for our shows. So you might see Colin a bit sooner than you think. So hey,
hey, keep up a good work. Thanks a million.
Top man, Colin, see you later on. Thanks.
All the best. Bye.